Imagine this. You've made it. The job pays more than you ever thought possible. Your apartment looks like something out of an architecture magazine. People envy your life. They save your posts, double-tap your wins, and echo your achievements with subtle jealousy. You eat clean. You work out. You're productive. From the outside, everything looks perfect. But late at night, when the noise dies down, when the screens go black, when there's no one left to perform for, you feel it. A hollowness. Not pain exactly, but not peace either. It's a kind of ache that doesn't scream, it sighs. Softly, persistently. Like a question forming in the fog of your mind, is this it? How could something so right feel so wrong? You achieved what everyone said you should. You played the game. You followed the script. You sacrificed weekends, skipped sleep, buried doubt. And now that you've arrived, you're staring at the prize and realizing, it doesn't mean what you thought it would. Where's the joy you were promised? Where's the peace you imagined? Where's that deep, soul-level satisfaction? Why does modern success, polished, optimized, glorified, so often feel like an empty throne? You tell yourself to be grateful. Others would kill for this life. But something inside you isn't convinced. And maybe, just maybe, you're starting to wonder if everyone else feels it too, but no one wants to admit it. The paradox is unbearable. You did everything right, and still feel wrong. You obeyed the algorithm, mastered the metrics, earned the accolades. But none of it touches the part of you that actually matters. And so you keep scrolling, working, achieving, hoping the next thing will fix it. Maybe when you double your income. Maybe when you launch the next product. Maybe when your follower count hits that magic number. But with every new milestone, the silence inside grows louder. You begin to realize, the ladder you've been climbing might be leaning against the wrong wall. And that thought is terrifying. Because it forces a deeper, more dangerous question. What if the entire definition of success you were given was never meant to make you whole? What if it was designed instead, to keep you busy? To keep you chasing? To keep you comparing? To keep you in a cycle where satisfaction is always just out of reach? If that were true, if success as we know it is a mirage, then what have we been sacrificing our lives for? Comfort? Control? Validation? Can you even remember the last time you did something not to be impressive, but simply because it made your soul exhale? Or has every action become a transaction? The job buys the status. The body buys the attention. The hustle buys the illusion of worth. You are not alone in this confusion. In fact, this quiet emptiness may be the most common experience of modern achievement. We wear masks of confidence over bones of fatigue. We laugh in photos and weep in silence. We conquer externally while crumbling internally. But here's the secret no one wants to say out loud: success in the modern world is often indistinguishable from well-decorated despair. And the deeper you go into that system, the harder it becomes to tell what's real. But to truly understand why this is happening, to uncover the roots of this silent epidemic, you must go beneath the surface. Beneath the Instagram filters. Beneath the TED Talks and productivity hacks. Beneath the gold-plated cage. There's something hidden there. Something ancient. Something that's been quietly shaping your choices without your consent. And it's time to face it. Because the cost of ignoring it is your life. Now, let's go deeper. There is a sickness beneath the skin of modern life, a spiritual anemia dressed in designer clothes. You weren't born with it. You didn't ask for it, but slowly, over time, it became the architecture of your mind. It whispers in your choices, disguises itself as logic, and infects your ambitions. It's not depression. Not anxiety. Not laziness or entitlement. It's something deeper, older, and harder to name. It is the internalization of a lie, that your worth is conditional. From a young age, you were taught, sometimes subtly, sometimes violently, that to be loved, to matter, to belong, you must earn it. through performance, through obedience, through achievement. Every gold star, every trophy, every good job. It felt like validation, but it was training. A slow rewiring of the soul. And so you became a performer in your own life, chasing approval, fearing failure, addicted to becoming someone better than who you already are. Modern society didn't invent this system, it simply perfected it. Our culture industrialized identity. You are no longer a person, you are a brand. Not a soul, but a resume. Not a consciousness, but a content stream. This is not random. It's structural. The machine needs you to be dissatisfied, because dissatisfaction drives consumption. Want to feel powerful? Buy this. Want to be admired? Post this. Want to matter? Achieve this. It creates a hunger in you, and then sells you food that never nourishes. Carl Jung called this the loss of the self, when the inner life is devoured by external identities. You become a reflection of what others expect. A walking algorithm. A curated self. Friedrich Nietzsche warned of the last man, a creature who avoids pain, risk, and meaning in favor of comfort and mediocrity. A being so obsessed with safety and approval that he forgets how to live. And Viktor Frankl, who survived Auschwitz, argued that suffering without meaning is the root of all despair. Yet modern life offers almost no framework for meaning, only metrics. More. Faster. Better. Success becomes quantifiable, but hollow. This is the hidden rot beneath modern success. We have replaced purpose with performance. We no longer ask, who am I becoming? We ask, how am I perceived? We no longer seek depth. We seek visibility. The problem is not just psychological, it's philosophical. Arthur Schopenhauer described human desire as a pendulum swinging between pain and boredom. We chase goals to escape emptiness, then grow restless when we arrive. The pursuit becomes an addiction, not to achievement itself, but to the feeling of chasing. You are taught that happiness lies on the other side of accomplishment. But that's the trap. Each time you reach the summit, the mountaintop vanishes, and a new one appears. Higher. More demanding. Less meaningful. You are chasing ghosts. And the more successful you become by society's standards, the more invisible this trap becomes, because from the outside, you look like a winner. But inside, something starts to die. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke once said, "The purpose of life is to be defeated by greater and greater things." Yet we've built a world where defeat is seen as failure, and vulnerability as weakness. So we hide. We pretend. We keep performing, even when it kills us. The result? A generation of people who are high-achieving and deeply unfulfilled. Burned out, not from doing too much, but from doing the wrong things for the wrong reasons. This is not just an individual crisis, it's a collective one. We have created a civilization that worships appearances but neglects essence. We have defined value through productivity, and lost sight of presence. We have taught ourselves to sprint toward success, without asking where we're running, or why. And now, the consequences are catching up. But before we can fix it, before we can escape this illusion, we must feel its full weight. We must stop pretending the emperor is wearing clothes. We must look in the mirror and ask the question that terrifies us most: what if everything we've been chasing isn't freedom, but a prettier form of slavery? And so we turn the corner. Not into hope, not yet, but into clarity. Because only when we see the trap for what it is, can we begin to understand what it's costing us. Next, we'll confront the price we've paid, often without knowing it. The silent toll this illusion has taken on our minds, our hearts, and our world. You've spent your life building a house, brick by brick, each stone carefully placed with the sweat of your efforts. It is a house you've been told to want, a house that looks good on the outside, with perfectly manicured lawns, shiny windows, and polished floors. But what you don't see, buried deep within the walls, is a structure slowly rotting from the inside out. This is the hidden toll of modern success, the silent, invisible consequences that accumulate when the pursuit of external validation replaces the pursuit of internal fulfillment. The first casualty is your sense of self. What began as a natural, organic expression of who you are, slowly morphs into a caricature, a reflection of what others expect from you, not what you authentically need. At first, the change is subtle. You dress the way society says you should. You speak the language of success, of productivity, of achievement. Your thoughts become governed by the metrics of progress, likes, followers, promotions, awards. But over time, your true identity begins to blur. The more you chase the next milestone, the more you forget who you were before you started chasing. This is what psychologists call self-alienation, the experience of being disconnected from your true essence, as your life becomes centered on external rewards instead of internal growth. Every time you meet one goal, there's a momentary rush, but it's always followed by an emptiness that drives you to set the next goal even higher. This cycle is not satisfying, it's addictive. You end up chasing a phantom of yourself, trapped in a loop where success becomes less about fulfillment and more about feeding an insatiable hunger. What is more disturbing is the societal consequences this addiction creates. We have designed a world where success isn't just personal, it's collective. Every achievement you make is visible, measurable, shareable. And in turn, everyone else's success is also on display, creating an unspoken competition that breeds dissatisfaction. The problem? In a world where everyone's successes are loudly celebrated, your own wins begin to feel like nothing. There's always someone who has done more, achieved more, been more. This constant comparison leads to a phenomenon known as social comparison theory, a psychological concept that explains how we measure our worth based on how we stack up against others. It breeds envy and imposter syndrome, feelings that, despite all your accomplishments, you don't deserve them, because you're constantly measuring yourself against a shifting, elusive standard. What does this do to the mind? It fractures it, leaving you unsure of your true worth. Your self-esteem becomes tied to external accomplishments, leaving you at the mercy of a system designed to never be satisfied. But it doesn't end there. There's also the cognitive toll, the damage done to your ability to think clearly and to feel deeply. Success, in its modern form, demands constant focus on the next goal, the next step, the next project. It leaves no room for reflection or contemplation. Your mind becomes a never-ending to-do list, ticking off items with relentless precision, but at the cost of depth. What happens to the space where your deeper thoughts and feelings once lived? They are suffocated under the weight of the next achievement, the next move. In the process, you lose touch with your own humanity. Success, in this context, becomes mechanical, devoid of the richness that once came with living authentically. You forget what it was like to sit with yourself, to reflect, to feel the richness of your inner world. You become a robot in a human suit, moving from one task to the next with little regard for the joy and wonder that should accompany the human experience. There's also the physical cost. Chronic stress, burnout, anxiety, depression. We're told to work harder, to push through, to keep striving. But these demands are not sustainable. The more you pile on, the more you stretch your mind and body beyond their limits. Eventually, the foundation cracks. You might get the promotion, the recognition, the new title, but at what cost? Your health, your relationships, your peace of mind are sacrificed in the name of external success. And when you finally reach that goal, you'll find yourself standing alone in a shiny new house, staring at an empty room. Finally, there's the existential consequence, the realization that the pursuit of success, in its current form, is ultimately hollow. What happens when you reach the peak and look around, only to find that there's nothing there? No lasting meaning. No deeper fulfillment. The emptiness was not a symptom of failure, it was the inevitable result of living for something outside yourself. You built a life that looked perfect on paper, but inside, you feel the weight of disconnection. Disconnected from yourself. Disconnected from others. Disconnected from the very essence of what it means to be alive. This is the invisible cost of modern success. It's not something you can see, but it's something you feel deeply. It's the internal fracture, the hollowing out, the diminishing sense of self. It's the price we pay when we live in pursuit of a future we've been told will satisfy us, only to find that it never does. But there's hope. There's a way out. The breakthrough comes when we realize that success, in its current form, is not the answer to our deepest needs. The next section will explore how we can begin to break free from this cycle and reclaim a life that feels whole again. You can hear it now, the sound of a door creaking open. The chains that have held you in place for so long are slowly beginning to loosen. You've been trapped in the rat race of achievement, running endlessly after goals that feel increasingly empty, but now, in the quietest moments of your life, something is shifting. There is a revolution stirring deep inside of you, one that challenges everything you've been taught about success. The key to breaking free is simple but radical: you must redefine success on your own terms. To begin this rebellion, you need to let go of the most dangerous lie that has shaped your life, the belief that success is a destination, a place you arrive at. This lie is a prison, and it has shaped the way you think about your potential. It's a vision of success that places happiness and fulfillment after you achieve something, when in fact, success is a journey that begins with aligning your life with who you really are. To break free, you must start by shifting your mindset. It's time to challenge the narrative that happiness is a reward for reaching some external, future goal. This narrative has suffocated your soul, convincing you that you can only feel content once you've checked off enough boxes on your list. But imagine a different approach. What if you stopped chasing success and started creating it, not as a reward for achievement, but as a byproduct of living in harmony with your deepest values and desires? This is the first step in your rebellion, to embrace the idea that success, in its truest form, is found in the process of living authentically, not in the accumulation of external markers. It's found in how you relate to the world and yourself, not in how others perceive you. To begin this shift, look to history. Think of the great minds and rebels who have reshaped the course of human understanding: Albert Einstein, who saw beyond the conventional boundaries of science, or Viktor Frankl, who found meaning in the most brutal circumstances imaginable. They did not achieve success by following the prescribed formula. They redefined what success meant for them and, in doing so, shifted the very fabric of society. Viktor Frankl, for example, was a psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust. In the darkest of times, he discovered that the key to survival was not external success, but the ability to find meaning in suffering. In his book Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl writes that the greatest human freedom is the ability to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Frankl's success was not about fame or fortune, it was about creating a life rooted in meaning, despite the most hopeless surroundings. The rebellion you're now starting isn't about rejecting hard work or goals. It's about reclaiming control over how you define success. It's about finding the courage to pursue your passions, not those dictated by a culture that tells you what success looks like. The world may define success in terms of wealth, fame, or recognition, but you have the power to define it differently. It could mean personal fulfillment, creativity, connection, or service to others, whatever feels true to you. As you start this new path, you may face resistance, both from within yourself and from others. You might question your worth without the validation you've relied on for so long. You may fear the judgment of society, the belief that you'll be seen as lazy or unsuccessful. These fears are real, but they are not the truth. The truth is that success is not defined by how much you achieve, but by how alive you feel in the pursuit of your authentic self. You must also embrace the discomfort of uncertainty. Reclaiming your life from the grip of modern success means you will step into the unknown. There is no map, no blueprint. The path will be filled with contradictions and challenges. But in the absence of a clear destination, you will find the space to truly create your own life. This rebellious way of thinking requires great courage. It's easier to continue in the comfort of your current life, to keep chasing the same markers of success that have always been there. But imagine the liberation in stepping off that path. Imagine no longer being trapped by the if-then mentality. If I get this promotion, then I'll be happy, or if I buy that house, then I'll feel successful. That is the world you are rebelling against. You don't need more external success to feel complete. You need to feel complete first. As you begin to break free, remember that success isn't a final destination. It's not about ticking boxes. It's about living a life that feels alive, true, and free. And this is where the real power lies. The next section will show you how this rebellion changes everything, the unseen consequences of a life lived authentically, and the power you gain when you stop looking outside yourself for approval. Imagine you are standing on a cliff, looking out over an endless horizon. The winds blow fiercely around you, and you feel the weight of every decision you've ever made in the pit of your stomach. But then, in an instant, something shifts, something so profound that the world below you, all of your struggles, your fears, your accomplishments, suddenly fades into insignificance. You realize that you've been running the wrong race all along. You've been climbing the wrong mountain. The success you sought, whether in wealth, recognition, or status, was never the real goal. It was just a shadow, a fleeting reflection of something much deeper, something that could never be captured in achievements or accolades. The truth is this: success, as society defines it, is a mirage. It is an illusion that keeps you perpetually reaching for something you'll never truly attain. But the real secret, the most powerful realization you will ever have, is that you've been looking in the wrong direction all along. True success, the kind that fills you, nourishes you, and gives you peace, is not about becoming someone you are not. It's not about accumulating things or accolades. It's about returning to yourself. It's about embracing the truth that you are already enough. There's nothing you need to prove. Nothing you need to chase. Your worth, your value, is inherent, already present within you. This shift in perception is radical. It is life-altering. It's the difference between running after a never-ending series of goals and waking up to realize that you've always had everything you need. All the external pressures, the expectations, the standards, the comparisons, are mere distractions, pulling you away from the one thing that truly matters, your inner truth. This revelation doesn't just change how you see success. It changes how you see everything. It shifts your entire relationship with the world. When you no longer seek validation from external sources, when you stop measuring your life by standards that are not your own, you reclaim your autonomy. You become the author of your own story, free from the constraints of a system that thrives on your dissatisfaction. In that moment, standing on the edge of the cliff, you feel the weight of every past struggle dissolve. The constant striving, the comparison, the competition, all of it fades away. You realize that the pursuit of success was never meant to fulfill you. It was meant to distract you from the deeper, more profound truth of your existence. What happens next is where the real power lies. The realization that success is not a destination but a state of being transforms everything. It opens up a new way of living, one where your worth is no longer determined by what you do or what you have, but by who you are in each moment. It's a life where you can find fulfillment in the simplest of things, a conversation, a creative act, a moment of stillness. You are no longer chasing something outside yourself. You are now simply living. This is the ultimate freedom, the realization that you don't need to reach any external destination to be whole. You are already complete. The rest of your life is a beautiful unfolding, an expression of your true self, moment by moment. But here's the paradox: this freedom doesn't come from rejecting success. It comes from redefining it. When you let go of the idea that success is a race, you give yourself permission to create a life that is uniquely yours. One that doesn't conform to the expectations of others. One that allows you to truly live on your own terms. The greatest irony is that once you release the need for external validation, success comes naturally. The very thing you thought you had to chase, fulfillment, purpose, happiness, emerges effortlessly from within. You begin to see that when you live authentically, success follows in its truest form, not as a collection of achievements but as a state of being. And in this moment of profound realization, you come to understand that success isn't about what you do or how much you have. It's about how you live, how you show up for yourself and others, and how deeply you embrace the present moment. The irony of it all is that when you let go of the chase, everything you've been searching for is finally within your grasp. Now, take this knowledge with you. Carry it forward into every decision, every action, every interaction. The weight of the world may still be there, but you will no longer be its prisoner. You will no longer be held captive by external definitions of success. You will stand tall in the knowledge that you are enough, that your life is enough, just as it is. As you walk this new path, remember that success, in its truest form, is not something you can measure. It is the life you create when you stop measuring yourself by external standards. And in that moment, everything you thought you knew about success fades into the background, and what remains is something far more powerful, a life that is uniquely yours. This is where the journey ends, or, perhaps more accurately, where it truly begins. You have now unlocked the secret to living a life of true fulfillment, one that is defined not by external achievements, but by your own internal alignment. The world may continue to measure success by its own rigid standards, but you now know that true success is something entirely different. And in this realization, you are free.